In the fourth episode of the Wellness Tribe podcast, we discussed childhood wounds and how they manifest in adults in the decisions they make, their habits, and in the way definitely it affects them. My name is Danish Odongo, and I'm hosting a psychologist. And today I'm going to play the role of being a psychologist therapist. Hi,
Hi,
how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Tell the audience who you are.
Aha. My name is Faith Nafula Sango.
Yeah,
As Danish has introduced me, I'm a counseling psychologist
yeah,
by profession.
yeah.
Yeah, that is what
Okay.
I do.
Okay. So when you send me your profile, I saw a very interesting thing that actually your major in your undergraduate degree was music. Tell us more about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I majored in music.
Yeah.
I really love singing.
Yeah.
Music is therapy to me. My favorite music is jazz and
Oh,
classical music.
you play any instrument?
Yeah,
Uh,
I played for exams. I did piano.
okay.
I tried guitar. Majorly, I was in the African drum setting. I like
Mm.
African music
Oh,
to just
nice.
study the effects of music in our cultural setup
Yeah.
and the different colors they use, the different beats, different music from different communities. Yeah, so I studied music. I switched to public relations
Mm.
because I wanted to work in a customer care setting
Yeah.
because I like talking to people, listening. So I felt doing a course for PR, I will be able to handle customers better as a customer care expertise.
Mm.
So in the process, I'm doing my course, then I get my second pregnancy in the
Mm.
process.
Mm.
So I said, let me stay at home, take care of my babies first before I go back to job hunting. So in the process, something happened as I was babysitting. I used to talk to people. People
Mm.
used to come to me, Faith, because they could see me being a stable person, taking care of my kids, sacrificing my career, and just staying at home to take care of
Mm.
kids. So I was like, why can't I now go to school since my children now are big? Because my second born was that time 2 years. So first I wanted to do strategic management, but I said, no, what will it help me? I'm more of a people's person than being in the office trying to plan and strategize for organizations. So I said, let me go do a course as a Daystar in counseling psychology.
Okay.
And I was comfortable there. I enjoyed myself
Mm.
and I could relate a lot. And even as I used to talk to my friends, whatever I was taught in school could make sense and
Mm.
I could impact more people
Yeah.
with an ease because I knew I have the
Yeah.
expertise on top of what I knew as a quack psychologist.
A quack psychologist. I've never met a therapist who doesn't have a story of why they became therapists. Why did you become a therapist or a psychologist, rather?
I became a therapist because of an experience that had happened.
Yeah.
I had mentioned earlier. My husband had just gotten an accident,
Mm.
right? We had spent a better part of the day together with my children. And I went home. I was still learning how to drive. So I expected him to escort me home and then he could go and hang out. So I was put alone on a test with my two sons in the back seat. First time driving alone home. I was so freaked out, but I said no. All other drivers are seeing me and they'll suspect I'm a learner because I was driving at a very slow
Pace, yeah.
space. So yeah, I drove home. We reached home safe.
Mm.
So at night, at about 2 a.m., I receive a call that my husband is at the hospital.
Wow.
The car had been written off.
Written off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was so tired driving, then he hit a pole, these concrete poles.
Mm.
Poop!
Mm.
Mercedes Benz.
Mm.
It was written off.
Jesus. Mm.
Yeah. So it kept me thinking.
Mm.
Now I cannot talk to my mother. I cannot talk to my mother in law. I'm all alone here. I cannot talk to my friends. So I said, let me go to school. It will help me know how to deal with myself. As much as
Mm.
I've been dealing with people, it will help me also be a better person on how not to panic when something like that happens, because that is part of life. We are not immune. Anything can happen to you or to me. We have no control. So that's how I ended up in Daystar.
So you ended up in Daystar.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's for me. I my personal experience is I fell ill in 2018, and then prior to that, I did not have a freaking clue about any of these things I talk about nowadays. And when I fell ill, that sort of changed the direction because I was a political reporter doing political commentary on TV, writing for all these big politicians you see. And then eventually, when I fell ill, I realized that, oh, by the way, the many struggles I'd had either at my workplace or in school were stemming from some of the childhood experiences I'd had, but I did not know because you know very well that in our curriculum, nobody talks about wellness from a perspective of making you. So for our audience, I the beef I have with psychology is that they always make this thing to sound so abstract. And secondly, you always make it look like it's something for troubled people who are wounded, who are destructive and stuff like that. Of course, it's for those people. But you, in your lesson, how can psychology be used to better the lives of an ordinary person, like an ordinary father, an ordinary mother, a driver, an employee? How can we use psychology to do that?
Okay, that's a good question. Psychology is good. Eh? You've said it sounds abstract, but I don't think so. Because if I was able to heal people even without going to school, then it means that it's something even new right now you can do. What is psychology? Psychology is just giving someone insight or support in a situation they're going through. For example, if someone comes to me and she's crying, I will listen to her story or his story and I'll be able to guide them through, right? So psychology can make you a better person. Like when you come for therapy, we just equip you with coping mechanisms. We try and tap and see what do you like when you do this and this? What is the effect that it has in you? So psychology, it's not that bad. It's an enhancer to life. When you feel like the world is shutting, everything is bad, you just go to someone, you talk to this person. Even your father can be a psychologist in a way. So psychology should just be imparting lives positively. We give you guidelines on what to do. We give you coping mechanisms, what you can do different, if it's changing diet, if it's changing the way of life. Like maybe you're used to 5 waking up, a routine. You know, routines can also get boring.
Yeah.
It can cause you stress, right? So we just try and form things that can distract you a bit and equip you with something to help you cope.
I like that because that is for me since I got into the space, my rule as well. Every space I go to, I tell them that they shouldn't just look at it from a medical perspective.
Yes.
That we are curing bipolar, depression. Those are important disorders we need to cure. But I believe that this country will be fixed when we entrench psychology at the core of everything. So whether it's the parenting class, whether it's an employee benefit program, whatever it is that we're doing, we need to have psychologists who are equipped to help people.
And also you make it fun.
Yeah.
Let it not be so formal that you sit, your client comes, you're there with your books, writing, planning a diagnosis plan. Yeah, you need to make it fun. You need to make the therapy session someone to be looking forward to coming to the
way
session.
You look forward to a Friday dunda.
Yes. So psychology also should be like that, because when everything is put nicely, packaged nicely, you know, because what we do as psychologists, we talk to the mind. Because you might find someone goes to the hospital that I am sick, I'm having a headache, I feel my back, but when they carry out tests, they find there's no sickness.
No sickness
You know,
whatsoever, yeah.
maybe this person just needed maybe someone to talk to, maybe go for therapy, massage, or just come to a hot spa date.
Or walk if they can't afford those things, like walk in Karura or by the roadside.
You just walk in the supermarket, do window shopping, small things. And those are the things that I myself do to myself when I feel I'm stressed. I just drive or walk. Even in the States, I just put on my shoes, go and walk, come back, I feel good, I shower, I sleep. And I'm good to go.
I just tell you that last night I wasn't able to sleep, and I went running. I went running, I think at 1 a.m. When I came back for like, I ran for like 30 minutes or whatever. I came back and I was able to take a cold shower and I slept.
Yeah.
So I think that is what we need to do so that we make it practical and stuff like that. So back to the wounds. So what is this one wound that you've dealt with, childhood wound that you've dealt with, you could still be dealing with, yeah, and stuff like that?
Now, we talked earlier about the types of wounds.
Yeah.
We said we have the neglecting wound,
Yeah.
the trusting wound,
Yeah.
which other wound?
Abandonment.
Abandonment
Yeah.
wound,
One
and
last
the
one, yeah. Guilt.
guilt wound.
Guilt wound, yeah.
This is where I fall.
Yeah.
The guilt wound.
Yeah.
The guilt wound is where I don't like asking for help.
Mm.
I believe I need to do my mess,
Yeah.
to clean up. An example
Yeah.
is when I went to give birth to my second born. I always give birth through CS. So I was operated on. So the following day, the nurses came and they wanted to go help me shower. I told them, no,
I
I'm
can
strong.
do it myself, yeah.
I tried waking up. I couldn't. I went back. So I don't know what happened. I was full of blood everywhere. So I just accepted and said, whatever happens,
This idea too.
Niko ready. They put me on the wheelchair. They took me. They showered me. They dressed me. That is one of them. I'm a perfectionist to some extent. So I like things in order. So if I go home and I found that the house girl has not done the work that I told her the way I want, I will put my bag down and I will start doing, even if it's cleaning the house, in my clothes, even in my heels, I will go look for a duster or mop, water, soap. I come and start doing because I don't want to give someone burden. I feel like, why is this person not doing what I told them to do? So I feel like I don't want to ask her again to do for myself. So I struggle with
asking for.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So, we were talking earlier on about the importance of healing the inner child. Maybe to make this story a bit relatable so that we are not talking about abstract ideas. So somebody who's dealing with guilt, like, you've dealt with it, sort of guilt wound. What ways would it come out beyond perfectionism or not being able to ask for help? And how would that affect the people around them?
Now, let me go back to my story again. So you find that if you have a house girl, then they will start questioning themselves. Why did she employ me if she can do it herself? So it will make that other person also feel inadequate and start also questioning themselves. Am I not good enough? So you see, it's affecting them negatively. You see, like you can have maybe a merchandiser in the supermarket. So you want to pick something from the top shelf, right? Since you don't want to ask, and yet they're there. So someone might ask, and why is she not asking for help? And yet I'm here, I'm employed to help her. So it affects people in a negative way. They also start questioning themselves. So it's something that we all need to work on our wounds so that we don't affect other people negatively.
Yeah, what I like to say that we often bleed on those who did not cut us. So you have like your guilt wounds or abandonment wounds, then you get at work, then you're so grumpy, you're demanding on your colleagues. People find you unpleasant, they wonder what's up with you. It affects your productivity at work. It affects how you relate with your colleagues. You long for some of this social connection, but you can't have them because you're so guarded. You've built walls that are so high.
Yeah, like another example for myself. Growing up, I used to stay in the village and I used also to stay with my parents who are in Nairobi. So my grandparents were military. They had that military kind of life.
Like we were raised in that era of...
But my grandfather was very, very, and my grandmother, they were very, very, very strict. And you see, that is what I was exposed to. Right? So I grew up in that experience, in that environment. So even right now, I find myself imposing that to my kids. That when you get home, you need to do this,
this,
do
do
this,
this,
do this, do this.
yeah.
So, in this parenting space that we are in, you cannot impose things to your children. They will come and tell you, no, mommy, I know what I'm doing. Especially my son. We just tell me, mommy, yeah, that is what you say, but also I have my way. So you find it conflicts. Me, I'm so used to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the end. But him will come and say, mommy, don't worry. Relax. I will have this sorted. So me, I'm like, you need to do it now. Them is like, "Ay, mommy, this is a 5-minute thing." So you see, we conflict. Why are you not listening to me? I'm telling you to do this and this and this and this. So it brings clash. But the moment you understand each other and say, mommy has said this, I'm saying this, then you come to an agreement and then you move ahead together.
Agree with you because I think for real, as in when I started doing therapy, that's when I realized that many of the problems you face at home, in communities, can be solved if people were just a bit more self-aware. For me, I think when I was employed, I used to sometimes go to work late. First of all, I did not know that I had ADHD, and therefore now waking up was a problem because my time, whatever system is really broken. So I have issues with time, But I would always blame traffic and blame whatever. Until one day my boss sat me down and told me, you know what, Danish? Everybody here uses the road you use. So if you're late, just say you're late, not any other story. So nowadays, I try to take response. I just say I'm sorry and I take response. I'm late sometimes, but I've improved in taking responsibility, And so some of these things, we don't see it from that nature. How else can some of these wounds affect, say, like in a family setting, in the workplace, or even in the society?
Let's pick is it the trust wound or is it
The abandonment
abandonment
wound, kwanza hiyo ndo
wound?
iko.
Abandonment wound. It brings conflicts
Yeah.
in families. You see, that part of you want to guard yourself, that I'm self-sufficient, I don't want to be helped, I'm strong enough, because you feel like if you give people too much power, they might take advantage of
Or
you.
they'll disappoint you.
They will disappoint
like you were disappointed when you were a kid.
Yes. So you feel like, for me not to be disappointed, let me do it myself. And then you'll find that you're clashing. You're clashing everywhere. You're clashing in your relationships. When you start a relationship with a boy or a girl, if they don't go your way, you say, ni sawa, wacha tu nitajifanyia, And maybe someone is there willing to cook for you, even wash for yourself clothes, But because you have that wound, you're so guarded that you're like, if I allow them to come into my space, they will mess me more.
Or
so
they
you
will
want
live like
yes,
the way people live always, So you
so
stay
you just
alone.
want to be self-reliant and do your things the way you want and be a control freak. You want to be everywhere, But that one overwhelms you at the end of the day. You will not be able to function well at the employee at your workplace. As a mother, you will just die of pressure because you're always on the move. You want to be here, you want to be here. So I came to learn that it's good to delegate at times. Delegate. Things that you can delegate. If it's a function you need to go home, maybe you're not there, send someone. Tell them, by the way, go and step in for me. But because you're a perfectionist, you're like, I need to be there. They need to see me. And that's not good. So we need to be at least accommodative.
What's your love language? That caught you off guard.
What? Gifts.
Gifts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is words of affirmation, but they say that our love languages can either be what we got when we were young or what we missed when we were young.
Yes,
is
that's
that
true? Yeah, that's true.
Can be what we got, can be what we missed.
Yeah. Because you see, growing up, our parents play a very, very big role, right? You see, for girls, they usually say girls are daddies and boys are mummies. So if you grew up with a lot of affirmation from your father that you're beautiful, you look good, you're bright, you're a champ, you will believe that. Even if you're not, somehow you'll just believe, and no one will make you feel less of that. right? So we have people who didn't receive that. They grew up in homes where kichapo, aibu, abusive, bad things, no one listens to them. So when they grow, they seek that every time.
Validation, yeah.
Yeah, validation. When somebody validates them, then that is the best person. Watu wanasema mimi ni mnoma, mimi ni handsome, watu wananipenda, pa, 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 pa. So you come and find that person, when you dig down, you find that the home that they came from. And we have people who will come outrightly and tell you, by the way, I didn't grow in a home with love. I just grew. I just survived. And we have people who are like that. They were just born. They wakajipata in a family setup.
But I also have a problem with how we define love nowadays, because sometimes I think our love, the way we define love, has been heavily influenced by a Eurocentric way of looking at love.
Yeah.
For example, the fact that my father did not hug me or did not hold me or did not tell me I'm whatever, but my father provided, or maybe my mother did not do this. So I feel like sometimes we are also conflating Eurocentric ideals of love with our ideals of love here, because perhaps our ideals of love were different, but that's a story for another day. I realized that the fundamental problem we have is that at whatever time you're in school, when you're getting into school, the psychologists we have, we used to call them counselors. Counselors. They're not equipped to understand, because, for example, if a child is coming from a home like that, that will affect their performance in school. True.
A broken home, yeah.
Not even just a broken home, even just
A dysfunctional
home, a dysfunctional home, or just whatever, or a home where where your father or your mother buys. For example, there's a home that invited me to go and talk to their son. Their son was they come from a wealthy home, but the biggest issue was that they were not there when the kid was growing up.
Yes.
So they bought affection. So instead of them being there, they were giving the kid gifts.
Money.
The kid became a kleptomaniac, got into drugs to get all this sort of stuff. So that also happens a lot when we don't do that.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. What else can we do to help people, especially individuals, to just heal and thrive? Because I believe that when you heal, you thrive.
Yeah. That's a good question. What we can do as people, we need to put time aside to meditate, right? It's a rare thing in our African setting, but when unasikianga watu wakisema kuwa na mkutano na nafsi yako, you just take time off and have a meeting with yourself. You ask yourself, how is my life? How am I affecting the people around me? How am I performing at my workplace? How am I performing with my friends? How am I with my children? What do I need to do to make myself better so that I don't transfer the wounds that I have, whether knowingly or unknowingly, to my children? Because
or to people around me.
Yes, because when you transfer that, you're just transferring trauma and you're making the society not a good place to be in. So we just need to sit down and ask ourselves, what can I do to become a better person? Me as Faith, And once you realize that, then you're able to
become better.
Yeah. And also, I've seen people doing journaling, right? With journaling, you're able to check on your emotions. Like there's a day you'll wake up, you're in good spirits. There's a day you'll wake up, you don't just feel like getting out of bed. There's a day you just feel like just staying, right? Which is okay. We don't need to be active every day, but of course, you need to make sure it doesn't affect the person next to you. Like you cannot stay at home and yet you're supposed to be at work. That is wrong, right? So when you journal, you're able to read and seek the patterns that you're having. And you're able to work on them. Yeah.
When you journal or do all these things, you're able to seek the patterns. But beyond that, there are people who have resources. I see people who say like you have the means, but we prioritize accumulation of wealth. So like a 50 by 100 in Kamulu, or an apartment, say somewhere here, or I want to go for holiday, I want to go for manicure, pedicure, I want to go for, nowadays men do a lot of, we spend quite a bit of time in the kinyozi, where there's a nice neck, head massage, and want to buy a better car and want to do all these things. I feel like many of us don't believe that we need to do the inner job.
Yeah, we have wounds also when it comes to money. right?
Yeah.
That is a topic which we'll discuss on another day.
Yeah.
But you find that when you find someone doing those things, they are trying to compensate on what they lacked growing up. They think they can use money to buy.
Yeah.
Yes, to buy. We have
Worth
yes,
or,
to buy worth, to buy people,
identity, to buy people, yeah.
identity. Yani, they use money in a wrong way. So those are wounds again for money
I
wounds.
remember the first time I got money was I was working for a SACCO in Kenya here, and we are going for a trip to Naivasha, and they gave me, I think, 18,000 per diem. That was a while back. I'd never touched a lot of money like that. Of course, it gave me a lot of excitement. The good thing, I was working for a SACCO, so the saving culture was there. But that money gave me anxiety. My stomach was like moving. So I'm trying to imagine people who have that money and now they don't have guardrails.
Yes.
And now it's destructive mode.
Yeah, now that one we call evil money.
Yeah.
Evil money is now money comes and it makes you just be with funny behavior, delinquency behavior. You want to just do, yani inakuwasha. If you don't, if you don't have a proper way of spending that money, you might end up doing bad things, you know. So that is what we call evil money. And that one for hoarding, you want to buy land in Kamulu, another one in Runda, another one I don't know where. That is money, using money. It's a word called shameful. Yeah, that when you didn't have it, you felt so shameful even to interact with people around you. So you want to have those properties so that you can have confidence. You've ever had someone telling someone, hey, uko na sauti juu mshahara imefika, ngoje ifike mid-month. Sauti itasikika.
And I think that in fact, that has been amplified by the world we're living in of social media, where people are flaunting their wealth, and it's on the basis of that, or even their personality, on the basis of that we follow them. The people we are following for the most outrageous of things, you know. But because that's how the world works. So I think it's very important for us to know that our identity is not attached to these things. Because I ask a basic question on this podcast. My value, my worth as a human being is not attached to what I have.
Yes.
By the time I'm born, I'm a human being.
Yes.
Even if I'm a millionaire or a poor person, I'm a human being. These things would not ever add to my human beingness.
Yes.
That now I feel worthy.
Money should not define who you are.
Money, positions, power, authority, all these things
they should never define you.
Yeah.
But if you find money is defining you, or your power is defining you, go to the inner, listen to the inner wound. You'll find the answers there.
Yeah. I have a controversial thing to say, that I feel like sometimes healing entirely is not possible from these childhood wounds. Healing entirely. And I feel like these wounds, they leave us better. Like, for example, when a pot breaks, it makes a beautiful pottery when we put it together, you know. I'm an artist myself, and I think art comes from a place of dysfunction. I feel like it's darkness that drives people to create art.
And express themselves.
To express themselves. Van Gogh, this artist from Europe, cut his ears. He would paint beautiful pieces of art and go and sell them, you know. So how do we, is healing, first of all, totally possible, Kwanza?
Healing is not totally possible. It's not, you cannot say you're healed. Just like even the medical conditions that we have. You will go to a hospital, you say, I have headache, right? They'll give you medication. You'll go home, you'll take the medication. But after some time, if you don't take the medication, the headache again will come back. So you see, for the psychological healing,
you can heal the headache for good. Headaches can be healed like forever.
They can be recurrent.
But recurring in another.
Yeah. So healing, it cannot be 100%. Because let's say I'm working on my wound, right? So I will work on it, get better, function well. But if I get another trigger that will take me back, you see, I will go back. And whatever I had worked on will go back again to zero. Then I'll again start a journey. But what we always say, purpose to be a better person. Just purpose to be a better person. We cannot be 100%.
So the aim is what the Japanese call kaizen, consistent improvement. Small bits of improvement in your emotions, in the way you see the world around you, will eventually give you more benefits. So, for example, as we come to an end, if you improve, say, your wounds, your emotions, and your perspectives, you will handle your money better.
Yes.
Your relationship will thrive, productivity at work will grow, and all that will affect your well-being.
Yes.
So all these things that you will eventually get, you're getting them from a better perspective because you've healed and you've done the inner work.
Yes.
I always say this, that if you put a pig on a high table and dress it with a bow tie and give it fork and knife, no, the story is told of a father who was arguing with two sons who said, gentlemen can be made. Another one said, gentlemen are born. Then one of them set out to go and find out whether gentlemen can be made. He went into a restaurant, found a cat wearing a bow tie, carrying bowl, and serving people around. And then he came and told the father, you see, gentlemen can be made. Then the brother said, okay, I'll show you that gentlemen cannot be made. Then he goes to the same restaurant and then releases a cat, releases a rat. And then the cat with its food and everything drops everything and runs after the cat. The idea is slow improvements towards becoming better is eventually what we are advocating for. Your
And
final
also,
remarks?
I also wanted to say healing is a process. Let's not guard ourselves much, because if we don't heal, we'll still transfer the hurt to the person next to us and even to our children, and the cycle continues. So it's upon us to make ourselves better, to make the society better. Yeah.
Dios, till next time. Thank you so much. That was the Wellness Tribe podcast. Until next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Okay.